Have you ever had an encounter with an angel? Did it scare you? I have had an encounter with a real angel, and there was nothing to be scared about. Left in absolute awe, but not scared. It was in April 2003 I'd left South Africa, my home country. On my way to Moscow, Russia, at the beginning of what eventually turned out to be a 7-year Christian missionary adventure, I was flying Egypt Air, which meant my stopover could be Cairo. At that time, a long-term visa to Russia was very expensive in South Africa, but I had found out it was much less expensive if obtained in Egypt. So I booked a cheap hotel and made sure my stopover was to be 4 days. Having arrived in Cairo, my first stop was the hotel to book in and drop off my non-essential cabin luggage. Next, I made my way to the Russian consulate, where I applied for the visa in faith I had no absolute assurance I would be granted the visa. The next day was spent traveling around Cairo to some of the touristy destinations, including the pyramids, Sphinx, and a few other places, wherever possible, by camel. On the third day, I decided to do a crazy thing. I took a map of Cairo and, foregoing the known tourist spots, I took off on foot in some random direction. I soon found myself who knows where amongst houses and small buildings, and hopelessly lost, I tried turning my map every which way, but to no avail. Nothing looked familiar, and there was not a soul in sight on the streets. Very odd for Cairo. To make matters worse, time was marching on. I had to go to the Russian consulate in the afternoon to collect my visa. I know, my planning stank. That's when I closed my eyes and prayed, "Father, I'm hopelessly lost and in trouble. Please send someone to show me the way back to my hotel." I had just opened my eyes and looked up when I saw a young Egyptian businessman type in an expensive-looking suit standing in front of me. With a smile on his face, where did he come from? I wondered to myself. "You're lost, aren't you?" Yes, I am," I said, still marveling at this sudden appearance out of nowhere on a street that had, until a moment ago, been completely deserted. "Come with me," he said, and beckoned for me to walk with him. "Where are you staying?" The only thing I could remember was the name of the small, nondescript hotel I was staying at, seemingly miles from where I found myself at the point in time. "No problem," he said, smiling. Carried on walking. Somehow, I felt at ease walking with him, and I just knew everything was going to be all right. In the back of my mind, there was a niggling sensation. I looked at him and asked, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" Beaming a friendly smile, he replied, "Yes, I am," but didn't elaborate. So I left it at that. What are the odds? Somewhere on the outskirts of Cairo, in the middle of nowhere, I meet a guy who's obviously a well-to-do businessman, and he's a Christian too. In what seemed a very short period of time, we rounded a corner and there was a metro station, the Cairo Underground Railway. We walked in through a fairly long entrance hall to a ticket office close to the escalator that goes down towards the underground platform. My new best friend bought me a ticket and refused to take my money, explaining the direction I had to go and the number of stations, and that I would then leave the metro station there right opposite my hotel. I thanked him profusely and started in the direction of the escalator. About 5 steps further, I turned around to wave at nobody. My friend in the dapper suit had vanished into thin air. I stood there dumbfounded, trying to figure out where he could have gone to do so quickly. There were no side exits of any kind, and he would have had to do a world record, and then some sprint to get to the exit before I turned to wave. The realization that God had, in all likelihood, sent an angel to help me flooded over me, giving me gooseflesh and sending shivers up and down my spine. The rest of the day was spent returning to my hotel, freshening up, and retrieving my passport with my visa, from the Russian consulate, which went without a hitch by the grace of God. I felt invincible, walking 10 feet tall, still deep under the impression of what happened that morning. Yes, I believe I saw and spoke to and was assisted by an angel of God.